everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Crime and Coffee Couple. My name's Allison.
And my name's Mike.
Hello, Mike.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing just fine. How are you?
Really good. I like your new shirt. You got it from somewhere.
Yes, I got it from Target.
Target. Okay. Mm-hmm. Very nice. Very nice. You look cute.
Thank you. We went out to dinner with your parents.
Yeah, we went to Chuck Loggers. I think it's a chain, I believe.
Yes, it is.
It's a nice little time. They had, burgers, flatbreads, sandwiches, tacos. Well, what more could you want?
Exactly. They have a little of this, a little of that, something for everyone.
Like a classic American bar and grill. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so check it out if you have one. If you don't, then don't. Yeah. Doesn't hurt us. But we're here to tell you another episode of some true crime and creepiness. We're a married couple here. Come to you every Sunday, and then we have bonus episodes every other week.
You're right. You're not telling a lie.
No, I'm not. And I just definitely want to start off by reading one of the fantastic reviews we've received thus far. And I want to mention really quick, like Allison mentioned in the last episode, if you've listened to us like 3 times and enjoyed it, it's kind of that third date where you got to put out. So please go ahead.
Well, first of all, I don't believe that because nobody has to do anything they don't want to do.
You specifically said, I'm teaching our daughter. You got to put out on the third date.
Right. No. But you know that whole thing where it's like, it's the third date. He's going to expect me to put out.
I don't know that. No.
Well, I don't either because you're the only person in the world that I've ever dated in my life.
Right. And also had coitus.
Yeah, that too.
As far as I know. Let's just be honest.
You have no idea.
No, exactly.
I get around town like...
Charlie Brown?
Like Charlie Brown.
He didn't have many friends. He was kind of sad. Charlie Brown Christmas sucks, by the way.
Well, a lot of people enjoy it.
I know. It's so sad. It's so sad.
It is a little like, wah, wah.
Yeah, like the whole time you're like, oh, poor Charlie Brown. Everybody hates him.
Shit on.
Like everybody hates him. It's so sad.
I like Charlie Brown.
I think Linus thinks he's okay. But
I would have him over to our house for hot cocoa.
I don't think I would. He sounds like a downer. Yeah, I'd rather have anybody else, literally.
He's a bit Eeyore-ish.
Yeah, I'd have Snoopy and Woodchuck and Woodstock, whatever his name is.
Woodstock.
Yeah, but just want to say, hey, if you review us, leave a review on Audible or Apple Podcasts or Spotify.
Wherever you listen.
Very much appreciated. Here's a review from Audible. Best podcast ever. I've been listening since day one here on Audible, and I love you guys so very much. I listen every Sunday, but my oldest son loves to hear your banter, so we listen on the way to school on Monday as well. I love everything about your podcast. So thank you so much.
We really do appreciate it so much.
I apologize to your son if there's been any awkward conversations from some of these banters.
It normally comes from you.
Yeah, like if you were to say, like, do you remember where the sun was created? Like Inception, where Inception happened.
Inception or Conception?
Conception.
What the hell is going on?
I had a little mini stroke, and I thank you for helping me come up with that word. Like, we remember where both of our kids were conceived.
Yes, we do, but we don't need to talk about it.
No. I mean, we do. We're very honest on this podcast, but I'm not going to say it.
Yeah.
But you're thinking about it.
I am.
Both spots.
Yes.
Okay, good. So I'm sorry. Thank you so much for listening to us. We appreciate it. But what's been going on with you this week?
Well, we had our minivan, our really cool 2016 Town and Country. I don't think we talked about this in the last one. I hope not.
No, we didn't.
But it was in the shop, and in the meantime, we had to get a rental car because it was gone for like a week, and we got a Mustang convertible, which was so fun to drive, and it had so much pickup, and I didn't want to get that shitty minivan back.
It was big.
I was like, this is bullshit.
Big change. About the same engine, maybe, V6, a lot of horsepower, just, a lot more geared towards fast engine instead of pulling a lot of people.
And Mike always likes to squash any fun that I might have.
If it comes with a lot of money behind it, I definitely do. I 100% want to squash any very expensive fun.
And my mind is, I'm responsible with money, but you have to enjoy life as well. And Mike just likes to squash it. So I was driving and I was like, oh my gosh, this pickup is amazing. I was born for speed. I was born for a fast car. And Mike's like, with that comes speeding tickets. This is what I'm dealing with. A 90-year-old man that's pockets are sealed shut.
Well, do you want speeding tickets? I'm sorry.
No, Mike, I wasn't going above the speed limit. I just like to get off the line fast. If I need to get around an idiot, because when I drive, I call it idiot hopping because there's so many friggin' morons out there. Because mind you, we do live in Florida and there's a reputation for not so good drivers. It was nice to have that kind of speed.
Whereas I slow down. Like just today, you were like, Mom, Mike, you got to get to the right lane. I'm like, I know. I'm just going to let this guy pass me, and then I'm going to go to the right lane. Allison likes to gas it and get right in front of those people. Aggressive driver. conservative driver.
Or we were watching a movie and it takes place like back in the day when there was like these match girls is what they were called. They would make matchsticks. And the one girl was going to be a whistleblower because she realized that the matches were made with a poisonous substance and the girls were getting sick. And I'd be like, I was like, I would be out of there in a second. And Mike's like, well, it's not guaranteed that you're going to die. I'm like, are you serious? So like if I came home from that job and I was like, I need to get out of here because I have a potential of dying, you'd be like, I mean, you should really keep it up. Because when the girls were boycotting and leaving the factory, you're like, well, now they all need to find new jobs.
Well, this was like in a, they're all very poor people. It's an Enola Holmes too, which is what it was, right?
Yes.
So if on Netflix, check it out. Great. 2 great movies.
1 and 2 is fantastic. Yeah.
But it was like a very poor area. Like I'm sure these people couldn't just walk around and be like, oh, I'm going to go ahead and get a job at the corner store.
You cannot be in a job where girls are dropping like flies because the substance you're working with on a daily basis is bad to your health.
Right. Well, they were probably working with lead in the meantime. God knows what they were working with.
This is the conversations that I am forced to have.
She hates common sense. That's what we get down to. It's just anything sensical. Allison's like, no, I want dreams and
no,
whimsy.
It's not dreams. I think life should be fun.
I agree. I have a great time.
And gosh darn it, I will get a fun car.
Yeah,
I will.
You will, I'm sure. Not with our money, but I don't hope maybe
with
you win
whose
one.
money am I getting?
I don't know if you win one or find one. Just get a car.
I walk down the street and there's just one sitting there. I think that might be called Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah. Well, then you're going to be in the slammer. I don't have to worry about it anymore.
Maybe I want to be in the slammer.
You know how much money we would save if you were in jail? A lot. So real quick before we talk, get into the story, I got a couple things I'd like to mention.
Okay.
Number 1, I went out with the boys to get some drinks and just hang out because we haven't seen each other in a while. And we went to our local grocery store to get drinks.
That was bizarre.
If you live in the Southeast, it's Publix. So there's this Publix market called Greenwise. It's kind of organic stuff. And they have a bar there. Every beer is $5. And you could get food from the entire grocery store and eat it in the bar area.
Well, they have a lot of prepared food.
Yes, it was amazing. So I texted Allison. I'm like, hey, I'm going to go get some beers with the guys at Publix. And you're like, are you serious right now? You're going to Publix? I'm like, yeah, we're going to go to Publix.
I was like, okay, no judgment here.
Yeah, brought my dad. He had a great time. And
you are still on your 100-day no alcohol challenge, so you had kombucha.
I did have kombucha, which was even better. They had kombucha there for people like me. And they had like a wing bar there. They had salad bar, like all these places do.
I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No, they had a Chipotle bar, like it was kind of like Chipotle, and they had free guac, so they pointed that out. I mean, I'm very excited by this. What else? Sushi.
Well, you did say you can go to the butcher and get a steak, and they would cook it for you.
Yep, steak or fish.
That is really interesting.
They cook it for you. It's done in 15 minutes. It's like you could then go get a $5 beer, and there's no tipping.
No tipping at all. You said that they're like firm on that. The guy said he could get fired.
Yes. One girl was like, please. And he's like, no, I can't. I am going to get fired. You cannot tip me, please.
Yeah.
So it was, so that saves you another 20%. I mean, it was amazing. And each of us were like, we are coming here. Oh, and then we got free samples. We got like chocolate covered almonds and some like fish dip. It was like amazing. We were all like, this place gets better every 15 minutes.
That's really cool.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
So I thought that was kind of cool. Also, one last thing for me. Our mixed nut situation is fantastic right now. We just got a bag of mixed nuts for the holidays. Mm-hmm. It's in November here. I always scramble around the end of December trying to get mixed nuts. I just have this holiday thing where I want those crackable like nut crackers with the mixed nuts.
Did you grow up with that? Because I do find that you really like to have that.
There's something in me that makes it nostalgic, but I don't remember necessarily. So maybe it was like once or twice and I really liked it.
Interesting.
It gave me something to do in a boring like adult place.
I had a walnut today and an almond.
Yeah. So that's all I wanted to mention.
Well, I'm happy if you're happy, Mike.
I'm very happy, and those things don't take a lot of money.
That's right. And you know what they say though: happy wife, happy mother, effing wife. Did I say that?
Yeah. Well, you said happy wife, so I guess that is exactly what it means.
Happy wife, you've literally made my brain crazy.
Yeah, I made it
happy
crazy.
Wife, happy life.
You know what we say?
Life, happy wife, happy life.
Happy wife, happy wife. T-shirts coming out Monday.
Oh,
good.
Lord. So I think we're ready to get started.
Yeah, thanks for listening, folks.
Yeah, for this ranting and raging. So this is the story of the murder of Tori Stafford, and it's a doozy. It's awful, and I'm just going to put that out there. So on April 8th, 2009, 8-year-old Victoria, or Tori Stafford, because she went by Tori, she left school in Woodstock, Ontario, Canada. So it's 2009 and we're in Canada. And it was 3:30 p.m. and she was planning on walking home from school to her new house. She was living with her mom, Tara's boyfriend, James Goris, and her brother, Daryn. The night before, she was busy decorating her new room with posters of Disney princesses, the Bratz dolls, and High School Musical. After school, the plan was for Tori to spend the evening with her dad, Rodney, and then watch a movie with her friends. So Tori was born on July 15th, 2000, and she was the youngest of 2 children.
So this would make her 9 years old.
She was actually
Almost
8,
8 years
so it
old,
wasn't, must not have been her birthday yet. She was the youngest of 2 kids. I mentioned she had a brother named Daryn. So her parents divorced when she was 2 years old, and apparently her father hadn't been around very much, but he had recently cleaned up his act and moved back home to be a more present parent.
Cleaned up his act, so got into some legal trouble.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure what went on. He was kind of an absentee father, but he probably just said, you know what, I got to put my big guy pants on and be there for my children.
Better late than never.
Exactly.
Can't change the past.
You can't. So Tori was described as fiery. She was a girly girl. She was a pint-sized tiger who loved to dress up.
Wow.
So the family had only been living in their new house for 1 week. So it was going to be Tori's first time walking home the few blocks that she had from school. So her brother, Daryn, who was 10 at the time, so a couple years older than she was going to accompany her home. So before Daryn met Tori, though, he took a couple of younger kids home who lived right next to the school, which sounds very responsible to me.
Yeah.
You know, that a 10-year-old boy, no less, was, you know, walking children home. Our son would be like, what? I don't know.
I didn't take anybody home today. I wanted to come home and play Call of Duty.
We'd be like, Cameron, your sister. And he's like, oh, whoops.
Yeah.
We dog on our son as a joke, but he's a good guy. So Daryn was taking these other kids home. So in the meantime, you know, Tori's standing out there waiting for him. And regardless, he then headed back to the school to meet Tori, but she was nowhere to be found. Assuming that she had already decided to walk home by herself, he headed home.
Now, these are from the same school or different schools?
They're in the same school.
So why did he take the other kids home first?
Because he probably assumed he had more time.
Oh, okay.
He was probably like, it was literally right next to the school.
Oh, okay.
He was probably thinking, I'll take them home, 2 birds with 1 stone, and then I'll come back and get Tori and we'll head back together.
Makes sense.
So they're in elementary school. So he's assuming again that she already left and went home. So that's the direction that he headed. He got on his bike and rode back. Anyway, I'm sorry, I'm saying this wrong. So he went back home. He realized Tori was not there. This is when he got on his bike and rode back to the school to find his sister. But again, Tori was nowhere to be found. So when Daryn let his family know the situation, they began calling Tori's friends, but no one had seen her since school had been released. At 6:04 that evening, Tori was reported missing to police by her grandmother, Linda Winters. When Tori was last seen, she was wearing a black Hannah Montana jacket with white fur lining on the hood, a green shirt, a denim skirt, and a black and white shoes. She was carrying a Bratz doll bag. A search party came together to look for her, but no clues were found until police obtained surveillance footage from the high school down the street from Tori's elementary school. So at 3:32 p.m. that day, the footage showed Tori walking with an unknown woman who was wearing tight black jeans, a white puffy coat, and her dark hair was pulled back into a ponytail.
Like just next to her or holding her hand?
They were clearly walking together.
Okay.
So there was no doubt that this is what was happening. So it appeared that the girl was anywhere from age 19 to 25. She weighed about 120 to 125 pounds. The video was released to the media, and police received a tip that the woman was 18-year-old Terri-Lynne McClintic.
Wow, so they got a name right away and identification.
Yes.
Great.
Yes. So to give you a background on who this person is, so Terri-Lynne McClintic was 8 years old when she started smoking cigarettes. That is mind-boggling to me because we have a 10-year-old, and the idea that she could be puffing away on cigarettes for like 2 years to this point, like, it just makes my head spin.
I mean, I know I started trying cigarettes around that time because my mom smoked, and I just was like, well, I'm going to steal one and see what it's like. I didn't inhale. It was like, you know, just I didn't know you're supposed to inhale.
Right. Well, you were just curious.
Yeah.
I remember one time my uncle threw a cigarette in the grass and me and my cousin ran over and it was still lit. So we like puffed on it.
Yeah.
this girl's actively smoking at age 8. So she was also smoking marijuana again at age 8. And as she got into her teenage years, as one would expect, if you're 8 and you're smoking cigarettes and marijuana, your problems are only going to escalate.
I mean, you'd have to guess that she's surrounded by terrible parents.
You would assume there's something going on, that your 8-year-old reeks of cigarettes, and there's no question about it.
Smell like cigarettes and weed, and no parents are like, okay, you got to stop smoking.
Because when you're 8, you're in like 3rd grade.
Yeah, that's sad.
It's very sad. So as she got older and into her teenage years, she moved into, again, like we would expect, harder drugs like morphine and OxyContin.
Ugh, so pills. Mm-hmm. That's so dangerous.
Terri-Lynne was adopted at 9 months old after her mom, who was an exotic dancer, was unable to care for her. She was given to her mom's best friend, Carol, who was also an exotic dancer. They moved a lot, so Terri-Lynne was often the new kid in school, and she often skipped school. Her adoptive parents were violent and abusive to each other. The household was very unstable. There was a lot of turmoil within the home.
No surprise.
So
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if there was some sexual abuse and stuff. And
I don't know anything about that. It sounds like there was a lot of violence happening, not necessarily even towards Terri-Lynne. It was just happening in the house.
Okay.
So she was in foster care at points. She was in juvie at times. It was very tumultuous. So between ages 12 and 17, she was in trouble with assault 6 times. She often wrote that she was going to get revenge on the people who did her wrong. So there's a lot of anger happening. And, you know, when you're a child and you're being raised in an abusive home, you're probably harboring a lot of anger because you want a stable home when you're a kid.
And you have no idea how to deal with all these emotions and what's going on. And you have nobody to talk to because they're all psychopaths that live with you.
Mm-hmm. So when Terri-Lynne was 16, she got into a fight with Carol and punched her so violently that Carol nearly lost her vision in one eye.
Carol, her mom?
Her adoptive mom. Not stepmom, adoptive mom.
Got it.
So eventually the relationship did get better and the violence stopped. In early 2009, Terri-Lynne basically lived on antidepressants, OxyContin, and ecstasy. She injected herself with morphine, and she also smoked pot. So her drug, you know, when you're a drug addict, your whole day and your life is surrounded on when can I get my next hit? How can I get it? And that's basically the life that she was living in the time frame that this story takes place.
Right.
So on April 12th, which is 4 days after Tori went missing, Terri-Lynne was in police custody for an unrelated charge after violating her probation. When she was questioned about Tori, she denied any involvement. A month later, on May 19th, Terri-Lynne changed her story during a police interview and admitted that she and her boyfriend of 2 months, who was 28-year-old Michael Rafferty, that they had kidnapped Tori. So she just put all the cards on the table at that point.
Okay.
At the time of her confession, police had no real evidence to tie her or Michael to the crime. They were actually suspecting Tori's family at that point. So they're looking, you know, as we always say, the inside out.
Yeah.
So Terri-Lynne and Michael met at a pizza place, and Michael offered her a ride home. When they arrived, they had a deep conversation, and then they decided to drive around more and talk about OxyContin. So at the end of their romantic date, spent driving and discussing drugs, they had sex in their car.
Hey, that sounds like a perfect first date.
Would we call that a meet cute?
I think so. I think that sounds a lot like when we met when we were 16 at a bagel shop.
Mm-hmm. So over the next several weeks, Terri-Lynne supplied Michael with OxyContin, you know, as most solid relationships are. They're bonding over OxyContin. And when he would come over, she would give him the drugs, and she felt that he always said the right things and made her feel special. Her previous relationships with men had been very negative. She had even been molested when she was only 4 years old.
Believe that.
So
there you go. See, remember?
You were right. And what it comes down to is when you are in the sort of childhood, you're going to look for love and attention and affection from anyone who pays you a lick of attention.
And she probably learned that from her mom or whoever boyfriend she had and whatever. And I mean, she had no chance, basically.
So it's very sad.
Yeah, it's too bad.
But I mean, the things that happen here, you're feeling sorry for the child version of this person, not the adult version of this person.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people that go through a lot of stuff and still don't commit heinous crimes like this.
Exactly. So police believe that Terri-Lynne decided to snitch on Michael that day because she suspected that he was seeing other women while she was locked up. On May 15th, Michael had spoken to Terri-Lynne on the phone and basically told her that he wouldn't be visiting her or calling her anymore for a while. So he was kind of, ending things.
Breaking up, yeah.
And this did not sit well with her. So I think this was a catalyst that caused her to lay out her cards.
Good.
So she said before this, Michael was giving her a hard time and told her that she wasn't nearly the badass that she thought she was. Because if she was, she would help him kidnap a child. He told Terri to go to the elementary school on release and find a girl by herself and strike up a conversation. He instructed her to talk about candy or dogs while luring her away.
That's like, so not even targeted, just some random little girl.
Not targeted. From what we know, we'll hear more.
Okay.
He said it was better to focus on a younger child because they're easier to manipulate. And of course they are, because they're trusting.
Yeah.
They're not jaded by the world.
That's why you got to have those talks with kids. Be like, never, ever. If you don't know the person coming to pick you up, do not, under any circumstances. If they say we're dead, do not get in that car.
Right. We said no stranger would ever come to fetch you.
Ever.
Unless it's, a policeman with a badge or something.
Right.
So when I say they, Michael and Terri-Lynne had parked in the lot of a retirement home right across the street from the local high school. And Terri walked to the elementary school with Michael waiting in the car. Terri noticed, and I'm sorry if I say Terri-Lynne noticed Tori standing by herself and began to talk to her about her own dog, which is a Shih Tzu, which just so happened to be the exact same breed of dog that Tori owned as well. So they automatically had something in common, which of course is putting this 8-year-old child at ease.
Sure.
So Terri-Lynne is now asking Tori if she wanted to come to see her dog. Tori was excited and said yes. So Terri-Lynne led Tori to the car where Michael waited. As they got closer to the car, Michael began basically shouting out the window, "Hurry up," to them. So as they drove, Tori asked where they were going, and Terri-Lynne told her that they were just going for a drive. They kept her on the driver's side back seat, hidden under Michael's black coat. Terri-Lynne talked to Tori along the way and learned that her favorite color was purple and her favorite holiday was Halloween because she loved dressing up. They made some stops along the way. They went to Tim Hortons. They went to Michael's friend's house to buy some Percocets. And then they hit up Home Depot, where Michael told Terri-Lynne to go in and buy a hammer and large garbage bags.
That sucks. I already hate this story.
Yep. Surveillance video saw Michael's car in the Home Depot parking lot at 5 p.m. that day.
God, I just wish I could reach down and just fucking kill Michael, like, as soon as he stood, and Terri-Lynne just destroy them. Like, I'm sure the parents and everybody else did too. Like, I wish there was some way to know that this was going on with any kid anywhere and just zap these people away from Earth. Like, just I don't know, disintegrate them, melt their skin and bones, and just like rid them from the Earth. Like, God damn it, this little girl is like just so excited to see like a Shih Tzu.
Because she's an innocent little 3rd grade child.
And this piece of shit, Terri-Lynne, like, you don't talk to this kid and see like a beautiful, bright, smiling little girl that's excited and be like, maybe I shouldn't do this. You fucking piece of shit. Like, you fucking loser, idiot, drug addict, asshole. Like, I can't stand it already, and I'm sorry to go off.
And the weird thing is they're talking about surveillance video. There was a lot of surveillance video even before this day. Like, they were in the movie theater and in line, and it's like they're like 2 days away from this going down, and they're just like at a movie theater. It's like, how did this happen? This
isn't like a fake thing. This isn't a movie. Like, you're changing a little child's like life that has everything in front of them. God knows they're gonna do, whatever. Like, they have their entire life in front of them, and you're like one that's gonna come around and just buy a hammer to use on this. Like, who the fuck does this? This is, I know, like, I don't get it, man.
Psychopaths.
Why do things have to be like this?
So during their drive, Michael and Terri-Lynne talked about how they were going to have to do something to Tori because they couldn't keep her and they couldn't just drop her off. From here, they drove to the country, and as they did, Michael started to masturbate in the car.
It's always like sexually. Jesus H. Christ. Oh my God.
When they stopped, Terri-Lynne took Tori to the public restroom. While they were in the restroom, Terri-Lynne told Tori that she was a very strong girl. As they talked, Tori begged her not to leave her alone with Michael. It's heartbreaking. Terri-Lynne took Tori back to the car, holding hands as they walked. As they arrived, Michael was out of the car and picked Tori up, putting her inside of the car. Tori was pleading with Terri-Lynne, begging her not to leave her. When Terri-Lynne testified, she said, "He picked her back up. She still had a hold of my hand. She didn't want to let go. She asked me to stay with her. So I got into the front seat and I tried to hold on to her hand, but I couldn't stay because I knew what was about to happen and I couldn't be there for that." Terri-Lynne began to walk away as Michael violently raped Tori in the backseat of the car.
Of course he did. Jesus. Again, how does Terry let this happen? Terri-Lynne, stupid ass idiot, and Michael, obviously a huge, gigantic piece of shit, loser. I mean, I hope both of these people are dead or are going to be very soon. Like, they're just scum of the earth, basically. I can't think of anything possibly lower.
So even at a distance, Terri-Lynne could hear Tori screaming and crying in the car. She claimed that Tori's screams brought back flashbacks of her own traumatic childhood. When Michael was finished with his attack on Tori, he threw her outside the car. Terri-Lynne walked toward the car and kicked Tori and stomped on her.
What the heck? Like, where does this even come from?
When she testified, she said, "I turned back to the vehicle, and when I saw what was going on, all I saw was myself at that age."
And so you kicked yourself? Like, are you out of your mind?
"And all that anger and hate and rage that I built up toward myself came out of me." They placed a plastic bag over Tori's head, and Terri-Lynne used the hammer they purchased from Home Depot to strike Tori's head multiple times. They placed her little body into a garbage bag and put her under a tree and camouflaged it with rocks. When Tori's remains were found, her Hannah Montana jacket and butterfly earrings were found with her inside the bag. From there, they had the car washed and they got rid of the hammer and their clothes. Tori's autopsy showed that she died from at least 4 blows from the hammer to her head. 16 of her ribs were broken and her liver was damaged while she was still alive. The blunt force trauma to her body and what caused her liver laceration, which alone would have been fatal to her. So when police questioned Terri-Lynne after identifying her in the surveillance video, she told them that Tori was dead, straight up. She provided them with a sketch area of where her body could be located, and the police went to a rural area just southeast of Mount Forest in Ontario, about 82 miles from Tori's house. Tori's badly decomposed remains were found under the evergreen tree, covered in rocks, on July 21st, 2009, 103 days after she was reported missing. She was found naked from the waist down. Because of the extent of her decomposition, dental records had to be used to identify her. The medical examiner couldn't definitively determine if Tori had been raped because of the state of decomposition. Terri-Lynne and Michael were ordered to have separate trials. She was charged, and I'm going to skip a little bit here because I kind of cover this in the end. But Terri-Lynne is basically claiming during her trial that she was only going to pretend to take a child from the elementary school. But ultimately,
I don't give a rat shit. I mean, I do want to know why she did it, but man, it's like I would just be like, shut up. You did it, and you're going to get the worst possible thing you can get. Mm-hmm. I'm curious to hear what she's going to say.
Well, she said she was just trying to pretend to be this badass that Michael was challenging her on. She was going to pretend to do it and come back to the car and say that she just couldn't. But as she was walking towards the school, she knew that Michael could see her. So she noticed that Tori was by herself. So she said she went through with it. She claimed that she was unaware of what Michael was going to do that day. Terri-Lynne said that she only targeted Tori because she just happened to be alone. But it was later revealed that there actually had been a connection. So this is why I'm saying, was it random? Or was it, was it set up? I don't know. During the trial, Tori's mom, Tara, revealed that at the time of her daughter's abduction and murder, she had been also addicted to OxyContin. She purchased the drug from Terri-Lynne's mother, and when she was at Terri-Lynne's house dealing with the mom, Terri-Lynne had also been there. And so this happened twice, that they saw each other at Terri-Lynne's house.
How bad does mom have to feel to be even somewhere related to
Connected.
the killer of your child?
So Tara said while she was at their house, she spoke of their Shih Tzu dog. So it was the connection between them was voiced in Terri-Lynne's presence, because she did have a Shih Tzu, and they had two, and they discussed breeding their dogs because Terri-Lynne's family had one, she had one, so they actually had a conversation about potentially breeding their dogs.
Well, then you can sell the puppies and buy more bills.
Of course. It was actually Tara that was able to recognize Terri-Lynne from the surveillance video that was put out.
Oh.
So Tara is Tori's mom.
Yeah.
So the defense made the case that Michael didn't know what was going to happen when Terri-Lynne brought Tori to his car that day. They claimed that the abduction and murder was 100% Terri-Lynne's fault. It was her idea. She lured Tori away. She purchased the murder weapon from Home Depot. Michael said that Terri-Lynne told him that she took Tori for a drug debt and allowed him to do something sexual to her. The defense said that Michael said no, and Terri-Lynne asked him to drive to a rural location. When they arrived, she asked him to walk away since Tori was afraid of him. She said that that's when Terri-Lynne, or he said, I think I should say, that that's when Terri-Lynne murdered Tori, and that Michael is denying that Tori had ever been raped, basically saying he had absolutely nothing to do with any of it, except for driving them out to that location and helping with the disposal of her body.
Interesting.
That's what Michael is saying.
Now, you know what? That makes more sense to me. Because it doesn't make sense that Terri-Lynne would come around and kick her and suffocate her and bash her with a hammer. Like, I'm not, I know you're probably going to tell me what really happened, or hopefully, I don't know, but that makes a little bit more sense that Terri-Lynne's just fucking out of her mind.
So you believe that Michael is innocent?
No.
That, what did I say? He was 28 years old?
Maybe my mind wants to believe that because I'm
28-year-old drug addict with a 18-year-old drug addict. You think like he's making all sorts of good decisions?
No. But there's a lot of people that are addicted to
What
drugs.
are you
Doesn't make them
doing
bad.
at a friggin' elementary school?
I don't know. It's not for me to find out. And they said, there's so much decomposition that they couldn't find. It just
No.
it didn't. When you said the story with Terri-Lynne and Michael, it didn't go together. It didn't make sense. It just something was off. That Terri-Lynne was holding her hand and like, okay, yeah, whatever, held her hand and then let her go have what I don't even want to say.
No, don't.
And then come back and actually murder a child. Like Terri-Lynne is the one that took the child, talked to the child about the Shih Tzu,
Went
saw the
into
smile in her
Home
face.
Depot and got the hammer in the garbage bags.
Right. So all these things lead up to Terri-Lynne being the absolute psychopath. I'm not saying that Michael's innocent, but I could see this story making more sense than the other one because it's kind of random. It's almost like you're watching a bad movie and they have this scene happen. It's like that wasn't even necessary. Like I don't even know where that came from.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like she added it all in herself so that she could put pin on him.
So the defense also said that Terri-Lynne was a violent and cruel person. Evidence presented to the jury was that when she was a child, she actually put the family dog into the microwave. Okay. This actually happened.
Yeah.
She turned the microwave on until the dog screamed.
Okay,
and
well, that's a psychopath.
The dog ended up having to be put to sleep because of its injuries that it sustained. So she is not a good person.
Right.
So when investigators looked at Michael's computer, though, the search history included underage rape, real underage rape pictures, best programs to download child pornography. It also contained the movie called Gardens of the Night, which was a 2008 film about an 8-year-old girl who was lured away by Alex, who is played by Tom Arnold, after he says that he needs help finding his dog. So this is like a mirror image of what happened that day. So I believe that
Michael got lucky.
Absolutely raped Tori that day. I believe that. So basically, this movie on the computer is verbatim of what happened. Okay. It also contained the movie Karla, which is a 2006 film based on the true story of Karla Homolka, who we've had a couple people suggest that we cover this story, which we might end up doing in the future. But basically, Karla was married to Paul Bernardo. And apparently Paul had voiced interest in Karla's sister, who was younger than her. So this is Tammy Homolka. So during the summer of 1990, Karla came up with a plan to drug her sister with Valium in order to allow Paul to rape her own sister, Tammy. So they gave her an animal tranquilizer that Karla had taken from the vet clinic where she worked. Tammy later choked on her own vomit and died. So this is just another like crazy violent type of.
We should probably look into anybody that owns these movies. I mean, no offense if you just enjoy film and have these movies, but I'm only laughing because of the ridiculousness. There's nothing funny about any of this
there's
shit.
Nothing funny about it. And however, though, none of the information from Michael's laptop was able to be used during the trial because investigators had a search warrant to search his car. They found the laptop in the car. They didn't have a search warrant to actually search the laptop.
Oh, I didn't know that. So
all of that was tossed out.
That sucks.
So then
you have no chance of getting him on anything then.
So apparently after Tori went missing, Michael had changed his Facebook status after Tori's abduction to "Bring Tori Home." During the trial, forensic biologists confirmed that a blood sample taken from Michael's car did match Tori's DNA. There was also semen samples from the back seat. So they're definitely, but we do know that when Terri-Lynne and Michael had their first date, they did have sex in the car.
I'm sure he's had sex in his car before.
I'm sure that he has. So police also tracked down 13 women who claim that Michael liked to choke them during sex and not always with consent. One woman apparently signed a consent note that she agreed for sexual choking and passing out during sex.
That's kind of popular.
Okay, I don't know.
Not that I hear from my younger friends.
I have no desire for any of that.
Okay.
So on May 20th, 2009, Michael was charged with first-degree murder and Terri-Lynne was charged with being an accessory to murder.
I'm surprised they charged him.
So they charged him with the first degree and Terri-Lynne only with the accessory.
Now, she's the one that killed Tori, right?
Right. So we'll just keep going.
Okay.
So on May 28th, McClintic's charges were adjusted to first-degree murder and unlawful confinement charge, and it was announced that they would be tried separately.
Okay, so now Terri-Lynne's got first degree on her,
Yes.
and so does Michael.
Yes.
Got it.
So Terri-Lynne was scheduled to be in court on April 30th, 2010, though a publication ban was imposed by the judge on the events of that day. The ban was lifted on December 9th, 2010, and it revealed that Terri-Lynne had pleaded guilty to first-degree murder and was sentenced to life in prison with no chance of parole for 25 years. Again, I never understood.
So no chance of parole until the chance of parole.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So at the time, though, Canada had a faint hope clause that determined that those serving a life sentence with parole eligibility period of more than 15 years could apply for parole after serving only 15 years.
Like, where does this keep on coming in?
So the law was abolished on December 2nd, 2011, but because her sentencing happened earlier in 2010, she will be eligible for parole as early as 2024. People, we are going into 2023 here. Terri-Lynne will be only 33 years old.
If that bitch ever sees the light of day, I mean, somebody's got to take care of her somehow, I would hope.
So on March 5th, 2012, Michael's trial began. And on May 11th, 2012, he was found guilty of all charges, which was kidnapping, sexual assault, and first-degree murder of Tori Stafford. On May 15th, he was sentenced to life in prison with no chance of parole for 25 years. On July 26, 2012, Michael appealed his conviction, claiming that the judge's instructions to the jury were flawed. However, the 30-day deadline to appeal passed, and, he basically claimed he didn't have the right access to the telephone to talk to his lawyers. Regardless,
tough shit.
The appeal was ultimately dismissed. Michael's sentence happened after the faint hope clause had been abolished, so he's not eligible for parole for 25 years.
Okay.
So in 2036, he will be eligible. At this time, he will be approximately 56 years old. Again, still plenty young to wreak havoc on this world.
Yeah, Canadians, do what you can to keep these scumbags in jail, man.
Exactly. Whatever kind of, petitions that need to be signed, because Terri-Lynne is going to be eligible in 2 short years.
This Terri-Lynne's going to do some bad shit to some people.
And this will also,
that.
I'm going to tell you a little bit more.
And Michael's going to go after little girls too again.
Of course,
no doubt about it, because that's in his head, and that's all he gets off to.
Right.
So, I guarantee both these people are going to do something bad.
Yes, I would as well. So in 2014, Terri-Lynne was later transferred from prison to an indigenous healing lodge to allow for more independent living.
Good. Yeah, that's good.
This caused absolute outrage throughout Canada.
How the hell did it even happen in the first place?
I don't know. So Terri-Lynne's own brother was outraged. He said, "She is no more indigenous than I am green from the planet Mars."
That's a pretty good line.
He feels that she manipulated information to improve her situation, going from a maximum security prison to a place where she is given access and rights, and the security is absolutely minimum in this place that she was transferred to.
Smart of her, I guess.
Despite the fact that at one point in her imprisonment, she assaulted another inmate. So,
you should not be eligible for parole like that, because that's not good behavior.
Well, not to mention she's taken from a maximum security place and basically put into like a medi spa.
Yeah.
So in 2012, during her time at Grand Valley Institute for Women, she got into an unprovoked fight with another female inmate who was serving life in prison for first-degree murder as well. She apparently had a role in killing her ex-boyfriend. So prison staff intercepted a letter that Terri-Lynne wrote to a friend, and it indicated that she confronted this other prisoner, Amy McIntyre, about something that she had said about her. She wrote that she had gotten in at least a couple of shots, some good ones, like 1 or 2 decent face shots. She wrote that while Amy curled into the fetal position on the floor, she kicked her repeatedly. She was sentenced to 6 months for this assault, but because sentences in Canada run concurrently, it's not going to have any effect on her ultimate charge or her ultimate sentence. And on top of this, 2 years later is when they sent her to this indigenous place. I will not understand. So more disturbingly, though, in this place that we're referring to, there's children present. So it allows inmates to actually have their children present with them. So like female prisoners can have their children basically living with them in this place.
Well, that's nice if you're a responsible prisoner.
Right, but now Terri-Lynne, who murdered an 8-year-old, is in a place with children.
That doesn't make any sense.
It's mind-boggling.
This sounds like it's something that would happen in America. Yeah.
So Minister of Public Safety Ralph Goodall stepped in after the decision was made and ordered the Commissioner of Correctional Service Canada to review how the transfer happened. She was then transferred back in 2018. So she was there for 4 years, living the good life as a prisoner there.
Yeah.
So because of this, in 2019, Terri-Lynne sought compensation for her unfair treatment, though this was later dropped. So the kidnapping charge against her was dropped. At the hearing, she couldn't explain why she decided to lure Tori away.
Why'd kidnapping drop?
I don't know.
That's weird. I mean, she kidnapped her.
I don't know.
Clear as day. It's on camera.
She said
maybe a pleading, like if you say yes to first-degree murder, we'll drop the kidnapping charge.
Perhaps. I don't know.
Yeah.
But she claims that the day that all of this happened with Tori, she didn't wake up and plan to do what she did. She said, "I think that maybe if I hadn't walked down that street that day, that precious little angel would still be here. Every day I ask myself, why? Why did I tell myself that everything would be okay? I can't honestly understand my thought process that day." In the presence of Tori's family, Terri-Lynne apologized, saying, "A million tears would never be enough, and a million words would never be able to explain how truly sorry that I am." Michael also apologized to Tori's family, but continued to maintain the idea that he was 100% innocent, and again, only dealt with driving the car and disposing of Tori's remains.
Honestly, I don't know how they got him on sexual assault or whatever, because there was no evidence.
Because Terri-Lynne is saying.
It's like he said, she said. So
Yeah.
in America, I don't think that would fly.
Maybe not. In 2018, Michael was moved from a maximum security prison to a medium security prison. And of course, the family members of Tori are notified anytime transfers are made. So, they're outraged to think like, why are you transferring this person who brutally murdered my daughter to a lesser secure prison?
Yeah. Like, no.
What is the purpose of that?
Right. Like you're giving him a better life. I don't ever want to see anything about a better life for this scumbag.
Not at all. In 2020, Tori's dad, Rodney, asked citizens of Ontario to honor Tori on what would have been her 20th birthday by doing random acts of kindness. Since her murder, Rodney has become a child safety advocate and joined other families in 2018 to enforce more strict prison sentences for violent offenders. And I can't agree with that more.
Yeah, especially children. I mean, it should be open and closed.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, you do anything.
Zero chance of parole.
Yeah.
But the scary thing is that these two monsters could be out roaming the pavements. Terri-Lynne in a couple years and Michael in the next, 16?
Yeah.
I mean, that is not enough time for what they did to this beautiful, precious, innocent 8-year-old little girl that had her entire life ahead of her. Yeah. It's just sickening to think that these monsters could go on to live their lives when this little baby girl couldn't. Yeah. I will never understand. So I'm just praying and hoping that their paroles are denied and that they don't get out.
Any thoughts on that? Like, did you read anything that said, like, usually in Canada, it's not always the first time? Mm-mm. I mean, you got to think just with how terrible and violent it was, like, they're never going to be approved for parole in the beginning, anywhere near the beginning. It's got to take 5 to 10 to 20 years. I
would pray to God.
And like, just knowing that they got lesser jail, prison areas than you would think that, Canada's kind of lenient on things. They want to give people a chance, a second or third chance or whatever, which I can appreciate in some situations. But these are two pieces of shit, like we said, that are going to do
through and through
again.
To the core. I mean, Terri-Lynne already, and she said in her note to her friend that had she been given the ample opportunity to get in a fight with this other prisoner, that she would have done far more harm.
Oh, no doubt. She's a super violent scumbag.
Right. So what's going to happen when she's out on the streets and somebody rubs her the wrong way? She's going to attack them.
Whether somebody rubs her the wrong way or the right way, she's going to do something bad. Mm-hmm. Somebody's going to be hurt. Many people are probably going to be hurt. So, I mean, I would hope the true crime community, our listeners, every other listener that's ever heard this, will be all over this when this bitch starts to get, even a sniff of anything to get out of jail. So... Oh, man, I'm so sorry to sweet little Tori Stafford. Any little child, man. I talk about it every time. I just love kids so much that, I keep on picturing her being excited to talk about the dog, and just like how you could take
possibly
that child,
do this,
still go to a car and still be fine with all
holding
the heinous
hands
shit
with
did.
her as you walk.
Like, kids are like the most special thing in the world.
Well,
man.
They're so pure and sweet because, again, they haven't had time to let the world make them jaded.
Yeah.
Stories like this, they haven't, like our 10-year-old, she is just, I was saying this morning, like, she's just such a pure, sweet heart. Like, it just blows me away of what a good person she is. And to think that somebody could hurt an innocent child just sickens me to the core. It's all I can say. There's really no more you could say. But, this is an honor of Tori to have her story heard and hopefully keep these monsters in prison where they need to be until their dying day.
Yeah, if you're anybody high up in Canada that can do something about these scumbags, please keep them locked away for a long time. Mm-hmm. Well, I absolutely hated that story. So,
yeah.
I mean, we hate all these stories, but it's just
ones
stuff like
involving
this.
Children. I get it. It really hits hard.
I hate it so much. It's hard doing a podcast about really horrible things.
It really is.
I don't know. It's tough mentally sometimes.
So anyway, we thank you all for being here.
More about sorry, Tori, just in her memory, right?
And yes, exactly. Absolutely. So,
Okay. Well, thank you for listening, and hope to bring more stories that deserve to be remembered of other people, unfortunately. But if you want to hear more episodes of our Crime and Coffee Couple podcast here, become a patron. So every other week we deliver a bonus episode. I'll be delivering the next one, and I want to say thank you to our patrons: Colleen, Lily, Karen, Nadine, Allie, Michael, Kayla, Dominic, Brian, Shannon, Elizabeth, Mandy, Alana, Vivian, Trisha, Lauren, Megan, Jamie Beth, Chastity, Genevieve, Clara Ann, Emily, Kathy, Ava, Jovi, Eileen, Misty, and Rochelle.
you guys are awesome.
Fantastic. All very, very beautiful people. Inside and out.
In and out. Yeah. So thank you all. Thank you all for being here. And until next time, we'll be back.
Bye.